It's Tuesday afternoon, a beautiful afternoon, at least in central Indiana. Tom and I could be sitting out on the back porch doing this show, but we're not. We're inside, and that's okay. It's a great fall afternoon in West Lafayette. It is our AcrePro buy-sell, and when it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. AcrePro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists with decades of experience in Indiana agriculture. No one knows the market better, whether you're doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland. I don't know what Tom Dienhart does with his time. He may be buying and selling farmland. I don't know. But your local AcrePro agent, and that would be Kyle Spray and others, they'll walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. You can visit acrepro.com or call 765-775-6502. Talk to Kyle. He probably talks some football with you too, because he's on the sidelines for he'll be on the sidelines for the Indiana game as he works with the Chain gang with Purdue. So Trent Johnson, Kyle Spray, two guys kind of cut out of the same cloth, great guys that have been, they do a lot of stuff outside of their day jobs, I should say. All right, Tom. It's funny how a week of scoring 49 points and doing things offensively, and all of a sudden you have numbers to talk about, and that's a lot about what this buy-sell is about. But we're going to start with one of the things, I don't know if it was a question you asked yesterday or on Monday with Ryan Walters, but just about the atmosphere at Ryan Field. It will be Purdue's last trip to Ryan Field. We'll talk a little bit about some of the gnashing of teeth that's going on in the city of Evanston, but this will be the stadium's going to get built from all indication. But 11 o'clock start. And we won't know how many people will be in the stands, but will there be an announced crowd of over 27,500 for this game on Saturday? I'm not even sure where the Wildcats have done with attendance on a regular basis, but going to be a small crowd. Are you buying or selling that? If there was a turnstile count, would you let me? I'll change that to 20,000. Do you think there'll be 20,000 people in attendance at kickoff at 11 o'clock?
I'll buy that. Gosh, 20,000, Alan, for a Big Ten football game. I hope. Maybe I'm being too hopeful, but let's just.
We have no way to measure it, but yeah, okay. I think
maybe there'll be more than 20,000 tickets sold. How many people will show up? I guess that will be the interesting thing. I think you said the weather's supposed to be pretty good, about 50 degrees. But yeah, you've been up there a lot. I've been up there a lot over the years, and it's just notorious for having poorly attended games if it's not Ohio State or Michigan or some other fan base bringing a lot of people with it. And Purdue does have a lot of alums, we all know.
And they will, yeah.
It will. There'll be a good share of Purdue fans up there, but probably not enough to really tilt this thing into a big electric atmosphere, a big crowd. So, yeah, I guess I'm going to be optimistic and buy the notion there will be over 20,000 there. Like I said, it's going to be a sleepy environment. 11 a.m. local time. Purdue's having a tough season. Northwestern's having a good season by their standards and given their circumstances at 5-5. But still, I can't imagine it's going to be real raucous up there. That's why, coaches always have to be mindful of making sure their guys are ready, just because, man, you can just come out like a zombie, not be ready to play in such a sterile atmosphere that's like a library. So, again, you're right. I asked Ryan Walters about that yesterday, and he's played up there. He knows what he's walking into, and I'm certain he's going to try to get his team as ready as he can be for that. Again, what can be a pretty, a very, like I said, quiet atmosphere, if you will, sometimes almost like a library.
Yeah, it's crazy because in the wonderful world of StubHub, I know that Purdue Northwestern basketball on December the 1st, they're going, because my point is Purdue does have a good size alumni, and there'll be Purdue fans there that are Chicago area, but those tickets for the 7,000 seat for Northwestern basketball are going at about $100 each. So it's crazy how that works. Supply and demand at work, to be sure. All right, I want to ask you, Northwestern's had a pretty amazing year, and they got my attention last week as much as anything. They got my attention first by beating Minnesota. I thought that was such a shocking comeback, and the way they did it in the fourth quarter. But going up to Wisconsin, I understand the Badgers are depleted, to say the least. But Tanner Mordecai did play, and Braylon Allen only ran the ball 3 times. But my point is, David Braun has done a terrific job out there from all accounts, fighting maybe for an opportunity to be the to be the head man there. Who knows how that will play out? Will the interim tag go away? I don't know. But are you buying him if the Wildcats have Purdue and Illinois? They need to win one of those two games to become bowl eligible. You buying him for Big Ten Coach of the Year? Is he going to win it?
You know what? I think he probably should win it, Allen, but my guess is he's probably not going to win it. I just think they're going to give it to either Ryan Day probably or maybe even Kirk Ferentz. I think, for all the stuff they take at Iowa, for them to be able to continually win like they do every week is nothing short of amazing. And then there's Northwestern, David Braun. Well documented what they went through up there this summer with the hazing allegations, the investigation, the subsequent dismissal of longtime coach Pat Fitzgerald, the promotion, the battlefield promotion, if you will, of David Braun from defensive coordinator to head coach. And I'll tell you, Al, if you'd have told me back in August this team was in contention to win a bowl, I'd said you're crazy. I thought they'd be 1-11 this year, 2-10. Looked like the program was in shambles, but my gosh, here they are. Like I said, 5-5, play Purdue, play Northwest, play Illinois. So you got to like their chances maybe to get to 6 wins. So I certainly think he deserves it. He's still calling the defense, Allen. He's still the DC. And, talking to Louis Vaquer, who covers the Wildcats like nobody else, really, wildcatreport.com, he thinks it's almost a fait accompli that it's got to be Braun, right? I mean,
yeah.
He's done more than enough to merit this job. So again, I would have to agree with Louis on that front. So yeah, I'm going to buy the notion that David should be the front runner to be the Big Ten Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I buy that notion. I agree that he depends. If they finish 7-5, and that wouldn't make Purdue fans too happy, then I think he could certainly be in there. Iowa still basically has got the magic number of 1 to make it to Indianapolis. They have a 2-game lead with 2 games left, but it has been amazing. And I thought it was interesting on Monday that Coach Ryan Walters, Purdue's head coach, talked about the fact that how much homage he paid, and it's pretty universal, I think, in the coaching world about Pat Fitzgerald, and he's saying Coach Fitz is one of the most respected guys. No matter what went down, we don't know all the details, certainly, but
I never would have thought
David Braun's been able to carry that on.
At
least the positive stuff that has been
so universally united.
Your attention
of Northwestern, and for him to lose his job the way he did was, again, nobody could have seen that coming. So Pat's fighting it all in court, so we'll see where it all ends. But it was just a sad end for Iowa. I think so. I think he's a good guy. Again, more shall be revealed, but again, it's just too bad that it had to end like this for Northwestern and Pat Fitzgerald. The kind of guy, Allen, you thought they would one day have a statue in front of the stadium for him.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I looked at him and kind of Matt Painter as guys in their own areas that are kind of the guys that were for the big picture, other coaches, but also had a propensity to do it the right way and very well respected by other coaches, certainly. Things can change from time to time, that's for sure. All right, we had the notion that we know that there's a vote this week, or maybe by the time you watch this, about a lot of talk about Ryan Field. Of course, this is the last game that Purdue is going to play in Ryan Field, and the fact that they are going to have a vote, because the big issue is the concerts that could potentially be at the new Ryan Field and what will happen with that, but it's not going to impact whether the Ryans are going to give the money, apparently, and the fact that it's going to be built. But so it's no buy seller whether this is the last game. It is going to be the last game. I think they're going to work out those details. Did you have anything else to add to that? I know you talked to Louis.
The last night, as a matter of fact, down the Evanston City Council was supposed to give the final vote on Northwestern's plan to rebuild Ryan Field, but it didn't happen. I guess they've tabled it for now, and supposed to have a special meeting next Monday. So it still has not been rubber stamped by the communities just yet, Alan. Northwestern, I don't know how long ago it was, weeks or months ago, but they did work out a deal to help maybe smooth the process and to get some approval from the city by saying they're gonna give the city, the community, $100 to $157 million spread over 18 years for, I guess, the city to use it at its will. So as you know, Alan, a lot of times money can
Yeah.
money can solve a lot of problems, get people to change their mind, right? If you keep adding zeros to the end of numbers, people can change the way they feel about things. Right now, again, over $100 million has already been committed by the university to the community. So again, it sounds like it's going to get done here at some point. And again, according to Louis Allen, the plan, according to Pat Fitzgerald before he got fired, was they would play in Soldier Field until the end of the baseball season, then play in Wrigley Field. But he says there's a chance that the Bears could put the kibosh on that. And he even talked about maybe Northwestern playing in, I guess, their MLS venue.
Yeah,
down in the southwest part of the city. So
Toyota Field, I believe it is.
Yeah, so it's still a little bit up in the air on where the games would actually take place. So maybe Wrigley will be a part, but where they play in the early part of the fall if they can't play in Soldier Field, I don't know. But that was one other venue Louis mentioned was the soccer venue. Didn't talk about Comiskey Park. I'm not even sure where else they could play up there, Alan. I don't know if they could they wouldn't go play in DeKalb, but Northern Illinois. I just don't know.
Imagine.
University of Chicago. Again, I don't know, but it's going to be kind of a fun little drama to watch continue to play out here.
Yeah, I think 1930. What was it? 1930? No, it was about 1940. The last year that University of Chicago played. I think that stadium is, though famous place with Amos Alonzo Stagg and all of that, but I don't think on the south side of Chicago by the Museum of Science and Industry that they have any football stadium there.
I've never heard. Now I was just thinking out loud there on the University of Chicago.
Oh yeah. No, it's just a funny anecdote about the path that University of Chicago took to leave the Big Ten. It's very, very interesting and. In terms of the history of Big Ten football. All right, let's get to some numbers here. Ben Frio had a good weekend kicking with field goals last week, and has started to maybe get his feet under him with the blood clot and starting to do the job that he need. Purdue, the last time they played in Ryan Field, 2019. J.D. Dellinger hits a 39-yard field goal with 3 seconds left to win. Jeff Brom did not have, that was not a good season for Purdue. Boilermakers finished 4-8, but that was one of their wins in that game, a 39-yard field goal. I'm going to ask you, is Purdue going to buy or sell? Going to have a 40-yard field goal or deeper this week at Ryan Field?
I'm going to buy it, Alan. Frio didn't have to kick any last week.
Right.
He had 7 touchdowns, but at Michigan the week before, he had a couple. And I think he feels like he's got his mojo back. He's healthy again, and he does have a strong leg. And this is going to be a close game, I think. The oddsmakers think so. Usually is a close game. And it could come down to a field goal. Northwestern's made 11 of 12 in Big Ten play as far as field goals go. And Purdue has just hit 4 of 9 in their 7 conference games. But again, I'm going to buy it. I think this thing could come down to Frio hitting a kick, Allen. And I think it could come down to him having to hit a kick over 40 yards too. Yeah,
you look at that situation and the ability to, offenses, despite what happened last week at Illinois and what happened certainly in Ross-Ade Stadium, it has not been an offensive show in the West Division throughout the entire Big Ten season. But it's funny how things break out sometimes on things that you don't expect. The over-under this game, 51.5, at least as of their first line. Are you taking the over or the under? Are you buying the over in this game? Because Purdue put 49 points on the board last week.
I'm going to go the under. Northwestern's got a defense that's better than people think. 2 very good linebackers led by Bryce Gallagher. Just sort of really solid from front to back, talking to Louis. And David Braun is, like I mentioned, the head coach. He's the one who calls the defensive signals. It's a good defense, that doesn't allow a lot of big plays. So while the Boilermakers enjoyed that big explosion last weekend for 49 points, I don't think they're going to be able to replicate it against this Northwestern defense, Alan. And again, it's kind of interesting. Northwestern, if you look at their schedule, Alan, you'll notice they've never won 2 in a row or lost 2 in a row. All year it's been win, loss, win, loss, win, loss the entirety of the season. So if that pattern holds, they're due for a loss, right? It's kind of a fun thing to follow along with. But again, I think Northwestern's defense is going to prove to be a lot more formidable than again what the Boilermakers saw against the Golden Gophers last week.
All right, you brought up the number that Purdue would be looking for its 3rd straight win, right, against the Wildcats, something they haven't done from 97 to 2003.
Crazy, isn't it?
I know Drew Brees in 98 had 6 touchdown passes and a win up there. When Purdue put 56 on them, that was a far different time. But you look at this situation. Are you in the big picture? Are you buying or selling that Purdue will add to that, keep that streak going? Northwestern win loss, and will Purdue get its 3rd consecutive win over Northwestern come Saturday afternoon, about mid-afternoon in Evanston?
I'm going to buy it, Alan. I think the Boilers are going to win. And gosh, for people of our generation, this was a game that you never worried about at all, right?
No.
I'm looking back right now. I'm looking at the page of the series, and they got Purdue's wins in gold and the Northwestern's in purple. And the streaks of gold are long and lengthy ones, Alan, through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and most of the 90s. And then Pat Fitzgerald really had Jeff Brom's number. He had the number of a lot of Purdue coaches there. They won 5 in a row at one point, and it seemed like they always won at Ross-Ade Stadium, didn't it? They had a 4 or 5 game winning streak in Ross-Ade Stadium. So yeah, credit to those guys for making that program really matter since about the 2000 season. And but again, I think the Boilers are going to make it 3 in a row, and actually then 4 or 5, Alan, because the only loss in the last 4 years was the 2020 game for Purdue over here in Ross-Ade Stadium during the pandemic. So I'm going to buy the notion that Purdue is going to make it 3 in a row against the old NU Wildcats.
Yeah, you think about Gary Barnett, 1995, how shocking that was when they beat Notre Dame to start that year. And still, you never thought they were for real. And they beat Purdue to get a clear, I 95. Think. Yeah, they 23-8 win in Ross-Ade. It got them, I think, a share of the Big Ten title, or at least it clinched a share at that point. And they won the next week. And they won the Big Ten back-to-back years. 96, after Jim Coletto had resigned, Purdue didn't have them beat, but they had a great chance to win up there. Lost it in the end. They found ways to win. Of course, Randy Walker and then Pat Fitzgerald. Yeah. This has been a program that's been. You're right though. I can still the Rick Venturi world in the late 90s or late 70s.
How about Francis Pay?
Francis Pay and. I'll never forget the game in 1979, Purdue's lone 10-win season in its history. And Northwestern, I believe, was winless under Rick Venturi, coming into Ross-Ade Stadium. And Purdue barely gets out of there alive. I think it was like a 20-16 game. Mark Herman and company did not have a good day that day, or that offense didn't. It's just one of those deals. It is interesting because this is a pure game for Purdue. You're going to start to look at this game. I'm not minimizing Purdue. I'm just saying these are games you need to win. And when you get into this 18-team Big Ten, you better beat the teams that you can handle, or that are certainly in your sphere, and then try to win as many of the games you can against ones that are a rung or two up the ladder from you, at least from a program standpoint. I know Ryan Walters is trying to change that, and who knows, maybe he will in time. But this is a game you want to win by definition. It would go a long way for Purdue to help finishing off its season with a positive note. All right, Purdue played certainly, and you've documented this, written this, its best game of the season, certainly against Minnesota. Turnover free. Yeah. It's amazing how teams look when they don't turn the ball over. It's kind of like basketball. Matt Painter talks about it a lot. Boy, if we could just keep ourselves, we being Purdue, keep ourselves under 10 turnovers, we're great in basketball. Football, you just exponential the difference. Purdue did not turn the ball over against Minnesota. Can you buy or sell that they can get through that a second consecutive week with no turnovers?
I'm gonna sell it out. I think the luck will run out here. I don't think they'll have any. I think they will commit some turnovers this week, unfortunately. And like you said, boy, if you can go turnover free, well, it does make a world of difference in your dreams of maybe winning the ball game. And for the most part, I'm looking at the stats now, Alan. Purdue is right 0 turnover margin. You got 14 giveaways and 14 takeaways, so that really hasn't been a big issue for them this year. So, but again, life has a way of evening out, and turnovers are part of football life. And Purdue had good fortune last week. I think that will. I think that'll run out on this week, and I'll have at least one turnover.
All right, Purdue. Last one we'll hit on. Purdue did have a somewhat of a rarity. 2 running backs over 100 yards. The first, in 3 or 4 years that had occurred was since Markel Jones and DJ Knox did it, I think, in 2018, I want to say. I knew that number last week, but it a rarity, certainly. And yet Devin Mockabee still, Tyron Tracy, who has been pretty effective as a running back this year, and certainly Purdue, it seemed to be, and you talked about this, a nice wrinkle to Purdue's offense to have both those guys in there. Ryan Walters talked about you can't have them in there all the time from a fatigue standpoint, but also from just different looks.
So you guys are getting Giants against level.
And different looks that happen. But my point is, Devin Mockabee still at 715 yards. He needs to get to 968 to beat last year's number. I think we said that would be an average of about 120 some yards. Are you buying or selling that he's going to do that? Now we started with 1,000 yards. He could still get that too. But how do you are you buying or selling he's going to beat last year's number?
I think he's going to beat it. I'm going to buy it. He's that game last week, I think, was just what the doctor ordered. Just he had the big run, the 65-yard run, a lot of big runs, Alan. He looked like Devin Mockabee. Was very mindful of securing the football too. And back to your note about the 200-yard rushers. Yeah, that was DJ Knox and we said Markel Jones.
Markel Jones, right?
2018. Now this is going back to last time Purdue did that in a Big Ten game, Alan. I saw it was 2002.
And Brandon Jones and
Joey Harris.
Right.
So you got to go back to
Northwestern, right?
To find the last time that happened in a Big Ten.
We froze up. And Tom, that was against Northwestern, was it not?
I'm not sure who was against.
Because that was the game, the Brandon Kearse game, where Purdue ran for 407 yards against the Wildcats in that game, and just chose. I think Kearse only threw the ball 8 times. And you're right, in a Big Ten game to have it done, really, really impressive, especially against a Minnesota defense that really wasn't shabby coming in. I mean, Purdue did a great job of getting the numbers there. So we shall see. That's always fun. All right, man, it's always fun to do this on our Tuesday. It's a pleasure for me to get to talk some football with Tom Dienhart and talk some AcrePro buy sell. We will do one next week as we lead into the bucket. It'll be kind of a short week because of Thanksgiving, but we'll do one as well. Always storylines when it comes to Purdue and Indiana. That game at noon, both those games at noon Eastern, of course, 11 o'clock Central for this week for the Purdue Northwestern game. So thanks again, Tom. I want to thank AcrePro.com. Make sure you reach out to Kyle Spray. You can do that at AcrePro.com or call 765-775-6502. And Tom will have a lot more on the site. You can also subscribe to goldenblack.com. We would like to encourage you to do that. It's a great time to do that. Makes for a perfect holiday gift. I think we could even get Tom Dienhart to send you a autographed picture of himself if you do.
I'll call you up and talk to you.
There you go. That might be above your job description, but you'd be the kind of guy that would do that. So, all right, have a great rest of the week, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week on our AcrePro.com buy sell.